Hey everybody, so it's John Miller here again. We are here at Monroe Valley Chapel. This is the third stop of the 4 buildings. We're only doing the 3. We were at Lights Ford earlier, then we were at the Lindley Murray Schoolhouse. We're now here at the Monroe Valley Chapel. Once again, we're here with Cliff the Wandering Woodsman and Lewis from Simplyexploventuring. This is another one of those buildings that is preserved by Lebanon Conservancy. Having trouble saying that word, but it's also Historic Preservation Trust of Lebanon County. They have a couple different names, but this building here, this was actually built in, I believe it says 1841. This was a Moravian mission. We've stopped here a number of times, as I said before. There was, like many of these places, there would have been an original log structure. So it actually dates back into French and Indian War period, because they talk about that this was also used here in the Monroe Valley, across the little mountain, which back at that time would have been called Hole Mountain, as in H-O-L, because the Swatara Gap at that time was referred to as the Hole. Sort of was one of those things where nothing good came out of the hole. So that little mountain, now it's called Little Mountain. On the other side, that was the Bethel Moravian Church. And that was a 2-story log structure, and that was the main, one of the several main forts or places of refuge at that time. But this place would have been used when it was a log structure during the French and Indian War as a community center, but also as a place of refuge, because churches were a little bit bigger than people's homes, a little more solid structure and that type of thing. But this is such a beautiful place. This was put back together because at one point back in like 70s, 80s, this was in complete disrepair. Just imagine below the windows there, the walls were that low and it was just a crumble. And they had people here that were living on the property that actually destroyed most of the cemetery. And once they kicked them off of here, they came in here, rebuilt the walls, rebuilt the roof, and have preserved this beautiful location for us. So we're going to go inside and check it out. Let's go in. John, take the lead here on this one. So here you have the benches, how they would be, and they would have usually the women on one side and the men on the other. So it's just such a neat little model of it there. And you know, the old potbelly stove, which were so essential to these places because you didn't have heating like we do today. This is how they heated it. But this would have also been used as a schoolhouse and a community center as well. Just, you know, this is how they operated. Like the church really controlled, back in that time period, the churches were the ones that really started the school system until it eventually became the public education system. Here you get to see a bunch of different pictures. And this is like Jan had said about this does get used for weddings, things like that. They have a Christmas service here every single year. Last couple of years it was on and off because of COVID, but now that's back up and operating. And here's the restoration process. You can see how bad, like I said about the windows, the stone wall was down to that. But
according to this, the original wall was built between 1750 and 1800.
The original altars? Yeah.
That makes sense, Tom was.
It's so, sorry, it's funny.
No, you.
That's okay.
It's sort of, for me, it's a little bit it's a favorite of mine as well, because it was my connection with my dad. And the gentleman that we were talking to, because I screwed up the film, I didn't realize I had it turned around, and you get to look up my nose. Tom Donmoyer is the one that's, him and another teacher, but Tom has been so awesome with taking care of this place. And just whatever needs that they have. And he had said the last time, he sort of for the first time, it's at a place where he's no longer worried about its future. And this is one of those places that very much is worth coming and seeing. I'm going to sign my name here like a good boy.
Oh, wow. There's the actual picture John was talking about the building, what it looked like before they did the full restoration. Half of them.
Handwriting makes doctors blush. I had, when I was in first grade, my teacher told me I had to go and practice my handwriting over the summer. That didn't work out. And here, like Lewis was saying, the original log structure was built between 1750 and 1800. So that would have been the original place of refuge, if you will, was the Moravian. And apparently also Lutheran and Reformed congregations worshipped here as well, which was, the German churches had a tendency to stick together back at that time. And it's the same thing as like the English churches, Presbyterians and Methodists sometimes would share congregations because it was just sort of out of necessity. These small communities couldn't afford to have, look at the wood ceiling there, I couldn't afford to have separate churches until, say, maybe 100 years later. But this is just such a beautiful church. But you come in here and you can have a Christmas service, and if you want to have your wedding here, because like Jan was saying, a lot of the students that had helped build this, they came back here and got married because there's such a connection with this place. So this is another one of those places of hometown history that still are here, that you can come and celebrate and enjoy and take a step back in history. So, as always, I want to say thank you for coming along. It's cool to be at this place. I think we're going to quick run back to the cemetery, and then we'll end the video there. So we visited here a couple times before. We'll go back to the cemetery again because this is just such a beautiful cemetery. But this is, if this was Moravian, this entire area here, this would have all been cemetery. And there's, most likely, if you dig down, you'd find the original grave markers are here somewhere. But unfortunately, those squatters that were here, they ruined a lot of the stones that had been here, especially the upright. So it would have made sense to say you had the Lutheran Reformed part of the cemetery was here, and then the Moravian cemetery would have been over this way. As you can see, it's just such a beautiful valley through here, but a lot of really old stones through here. I remember when this is one of the first places I filmed. There was the one lady, Priscilla, and I didn't know what consort meant, but it would have been one of his wives. I think she was the gentleman that she had been married to was his second wife. But just all these old, neat old stones, the history that is here, you can only imagine. Just imagine the Monroe Valley here, how it's been through the centuries, really. And there it is. It's a Priscilla. That's one of my favorite stones. The consort of so on and so forth. But yeah. So once again, this is another cool place you can come visit, and thanks to Lebanon Preservation Society for keeping this place alive and in good shape that we can visit and remember that history. So as always, I want to say thank you, everybody. I want to say thanks to Cliff the Wandering Woodsman and to Lewis from Simplyexploventuring going out here and filming today on these different locations. It was a lot of fun. And as always, we'll see you all about town. So you get to hear the bell being rung. Once again, thanks for coming along. This is just another cool experience. Get to hear what that going through the entire valley then.